So our third album is When a Flower Doesn't Grow by Softcult.
She doesn't know how to drive. She doesn't know how to touch you. She's 16 years old.
And this was my main pick. So yeah, we sort of spoke earlier about Modern Women bringing out a debut album. Yeah, there's suddenly a lot of debut albums this year. It feels like it's the year of debut albums for a lot of artists I've been following, and really, this one was the one when I saw that Softcult were releasing this. It was a moment of quite a bit of excitement. You know, they've been producing quite a few EPs over the last few years. The one they brought out, "See You in the Dark" 2023, was my favorite EP of that year, and certainly one of the best EPs of the decade so far, I think. The one they follow up with in 2024 was very good as well. Not quite the same level, but you know, really excellent nonetheless. And they've done some really interesting collaborations with other artists as well in the meantime, and they're just very prolific, without having sort of pushed the button until now with this debut album. So yeah, fair to say my excitement levels were quite high, which can sometimes be a drawback with these things. And I was trying to sort of temper them because you just never really know, you know, how it's going to come out in the wash and everything else. But I have to say that this one, and to be fair, it's almost like one of their EPs in terms of length. I mean, this one is just about 30 minutes, and I think it's what, 9 tracks or something. So it's not really a departure from some of the other sort of records they've done in those years, but it does maintain that very, very high standard for me, and it was really, really great to sort of hear that. You know, it seems to have been received fairly well in the music press, and some of the ones I did think, oh, is it that good? um, but yeah, having listened to it for quite a few times, for me, I'm sort of in that more you know, kind of punchy music review scape, I suppose. Yeah, interestingly, you know, I think after the intro, which is this pensive instrumental, "Pill to Swallow," I think is probably the worst song on the album for me. It's okay, and certainly when I was listening to it to begin with, I did think, "Ooh, is this gonna be a bit of a letdown based on my sort of expectations and stuff?" It's all good, you know. It's typically quite strident in the lyricism, as they always are, and you know, the two sisters, who are this Canadian duo, for Softcult, but it just feels it lacks some of the intensity and that rawer element of what I really like with what they do compared to a lot of their other songs. But then I think they really pull it back for the rest of the album. Naive, it really sort of is instantly sort of more resting for me after Pill to Swallow. Then you get into this more punky, like Riot Girl sort of part of the album, which they haven't done so much, actually, I think, in the past. This is definitely them going into that a bit more, and some of the more punky sort of Nirvana type songs is what a lot of it reminded me of. I mean, 1625 for me is just absolutely fantastic. You know, it's, as per usual, some very dark lyricism here about men grooming younger women and where that comes from, really hitting back against it with some very simple chorus lyrics of, you know, she's 16, you're 25, you know, and just the energy of that just really, really hits, and exactly the type of song I love. Then similar lyricism with She Said, He Said, but again, you got this guttural bass. It reminded me a little bit with this kind of speaky verse of Highly Suspect, and one of the songs they've done in the past. But yeah, the background to this is the difficulty in proving abuse cases. So again, you know, they really go for these tough subjects, and I think match that darkness in their kind of punk rock approach. Then you have Hurt Me, which again, just absorbing grunge. I Held You Like Glass, which is a nice kind of more dream pop arrangement. and then Queen of Nothing, and all of those songs I've just name checked are just such a high level. I'm just fully in the zone, and yeah, it's just grabbing my attention so well. And then yeah, can't even tired, not sorry, when a flower doesn't grow, all great again. Not sorry is the other one I would say which reaches those levels. Tired and when a flower doesn't grow, very very good, but not quite that level. But overall, yeah, I think we spoke about um, you joining us, Adam, tonight, and you talk about setting the bar. Well, from a musical level, I think when a flower doesn't grow has set the bar for 2026 for me. You know, I'm kind of giving away at least where I feel the points might go for this pod, but this one, yeah, just sonic blast, 30 minutes, hitting you in the gut, really getting you to think as well. So it's thoughtful music, comes from a really good place. And yeah, it's great that they're hitting the the LP straps and yeah, continue my excitement for this band and what they can do, and one I'd really like to see live, hopefully soon. So that's for me. So yeah, Adam, I'll go to you this time in terms of what were your thoughts on When a Flower Doesn't Grow?
Yeah, quite similar to you, really. I found myself really enjoying this album. Um, but when it starts, it has that almost traditional sort of shoegazy feel. Um, and like immediately, it just sort of fills the room with noise and atmosphere. And it was a nice beginning, but like you, it took a couple tracks in for the real sort of meatiness to come out and for me to get like properly into it. Um, and I think, like you said, like the kind of addition of like punkier elements to the sounds that sort of gave it that urgency and that ferocity that, yeah, just took it to another level, really. Um, like the intro is good, but I think towards the middle of the album is where it really hits that sweet spot. And I don't know, it just seems to really come at you with this like driving force of just raw instrumentation, but also like heaviness in the lyrics as well, like the very sort of stark and I don't know, depressing sort of song topics that are quite sobering and also quite relatable considering what's happening in the world at the moment. Um, but yeah, sort of standouts for me was Hurt Me. I think that's when the album sort of hit its peak of your just unhinged quality, really, and that sort of confirmed it to me that yeah, this was a really good album. Yeah, definitely one of my early favorites of the year, I'd say.
So Carl, are you similarly enthused by When a Flower Doesn't Grow?
I am, but listening to yours, I think my where I'm infused is slightly different to you. Where you guys are infused, listening to what your favorite tracks are, and then
Mm.
what mine are. So I think Softcult is one from you and Kylie getting me onto their EPs last couple of years. This was one as well that I was quite intrigued to hear. Maybe not quite as hyped as you were. I know you were, Andrew, and Kylie as well, but certainly keen to see um what they could do with like their first long player. And I think as debut albums go, this is a very, very solid start. I think basically, yeah, brings together all those foundations that they laid out on those early projects. And I think what it does so well is it delivers that perfect showcase of where they are now. I think that's the big success for me. I think it's the ideal debut in the fact that if you followed them up until this point, you'll be really happy with this record. And if it's your first time hearing them, you just won't you can't wait to see where they're going to go next after this. So yeah, a satisfying listen, I'd say, for current fans and a great introduction to new ones as well. You know, I remember when we reviewed New Dad's debut album a couple of years ago, where it didn't quite match their early EPs. It could have easily like ended up like that one, but I think, yeah, pleased to say it's not the case. I don't think at all for this one. So, I mean, you guys said you didn't like the start. For me, I think I think it starts off really strong. I really like that ambient intro. Really like Pill to Swallow and Naive. I think it's Softcult at like their dreamy best. Like you said, Adam, it's got those like swirling shoegaze guitars, those haunting harmonies, just those lovely sonic textures that just wash over your ears, and I could just like sit in that sound for days. I just, that's like just well up my street. That those yeah, shoegaze atmospheres and those kind of sounds that they create in the early tracks. And then, as you say, 1625 really hits hard. I think that really takes things up a notch, bit more grungy, but keeps that strong momentum going. And then for me, it's when that middle punk section comes in with She Said, He Said, Hurt Me. Is It Tired? A bit later on in the track list as well. I think it's those tracks where the album turns me off slightly, and I think it reminded me a bit of, Wolf Alice when they're being, slightly heavier. Bands like Coach Party, I heard as well, similar to some of their heavier moments, but maybe I think because I've heard that a lot in like recent years, I'm naturally going to compare it to like those bands, and for me, it didn't quite hit the mark in the same way. But thinking from your guys' perspective as well, I mean, I can appreciate it's their debut, and I like that they're showing that they are not just a one-trick pony and that they have these different sides to their sound. But yeah, I guess I'm the opposite to you guys, and for me, like their best on those like more atmospheric numbers. I think, I sent it to you, Andrew, in the chat. I held you like Glass, for example. Once we get through those punkier track, that song just pulls me right back in. Just love the guitar passages, love those ethereal vocals. Yeah, for my taste, I'd say that's Softcult at the best for me. Cleaner Nothing you mentioned as well, straight after. Fantastic closing track as well. Yeah, just a really that title track, just a really sweet way, I think, to wrap the whole thing up. So yeah, I'm with you guys in that I really enjoyed this first full-length Softcult experience. Like you said, I say full length, it's not much longer than their EPs, but yeah, I think for me, I think it's just that I don't take to the funkier tracks as much as their shoegaze stuff, but I really appreciate the eclecticism, and I always think if I had just gone all the way through with just the shoegaze sound, maybe those big moments might not have hit so hard. When they get back to, I think the eclecticism does help like the journey that you go through when listening to this album. So yeah, really solid debut, and plenty of moments on here that like you guys have got on repeat.